Hello everyone. Um, I found this gameplay of me playing the Backrooms, and you're gonna watch me playing the Backrooms while I decide to read some scary Reddit stories. Let's go. My buddy is a dentist. He said some concerning things. We met on Craigslist of all places. It might seem like a strange way to meet a new friend, but my band was looking for a singer, and that's where he found us. His audition was a surreal experience. He can't sing for shit, but it turns out we're into a lot of the same kinds of bugs. So he didn't join the band, but we hit it off in a different way. He lives in a fancy gated community on the edge of town. These days I go there once a week for a sort of two-person book club. We're working through Becker's Aspect Emperor series right now, but that's irrelevant. Other than the fact that I sometimes think he likes it for the wrong reasons, and maybe that it was an early warning. We almost never discuss our day jobs or night job. In my case, I'm a guard, but he's a dentist, and he loves it. It's not that weird to love your job, right? I'm sure lots of dentists love their job. But the other week I got to his house, and he opened the door all smiling and said, "Got to pull some teeth today. A college girl needed 4 teeth pulled." "Okay," I said. She hated it. Even with all the laughing gas, she was squirming as all those teeth came out, and she said she was going to have nightmares. What? Never mind. How was your week? The rest of that meetup went as usual. No more talking of pulling teeth, no more talking of that poor girl. After we discussed that week's chapter, we played pool. He has a pool table in his basement, and he's almost unbelievably good at it. A week ago, I showed up for another regular hangout. My friend opened his massive front door like normal, and greeted me like normal. "What's up? Anything interesting this week?" etc. I told him about a weird gig the band had. He's never had a problem with me talking about the band, even though he didn't make the cut. As he puts it, auditioning was just some strange whim. My real passion is dentistry. And that day, oh God, did he talk about dentistry. I had asked him in return, "Anything interesting in your week?" To which he laughed. An old wrinkly grandpa needed 6 teeth pulled, and he was not happy about it. Huh? My friend laughed harder. But I was. You have to understand, in every other way than this weird teeth business, he is a good friend. Someone important to me died recently, and to be honest, I don't know if I'd still be here if it weren't for his friendship. So, he tried to keep going about this old grandpa whose teeth he pulled, apparently with no laughing gas or anything. And I just did my best to steer him toward the books. The last he said on the old grandpa was, "I would think he went to hell and back. He was talking about demons and shit, man. Demons and shit." Right. Speaking of going to hell and back, it was finally warm enough to swim in his pool that day. He has a damn water slide. Imagine. I'll get to the point. My visit yesterday was unprecedented. At first, it seemed like any other day. He seemed, at first, uninterested in monologuing about teeth. Told him about a date I went on. He acted genuinely interested, and gave me some legitimate good advice. We discussed a horrid chapter in the book and spent half the discussion laughing maniacally at jokes that would take too long to explain. Eventually, he got out his chessboard, and I saw that closet had so many games in it. We got through 5 tense games of chess with no issue. But halfway through the 6th game, he interrupted something I was saying to say, a middle-aged fat guy needed all his teeth pulled. Excuse me? All of them. I took out all of his teeth. I tried to let that slide. The 6th chess game kept going, almost like nothing happened. My friend muttered something about a fairy and a devil, and it was frustrating how easily he beat me. He threw me off balance with all that teeth business, but he didn't gloat. He is never a sore winner. He simply said, "I will be back," which is what he always says when the bathroom's about to smell, and I'll have to wait a bit. However, while I waited, I couldn't sit still. When he had opened his board game closet to the chessboard, I saw he had a lot of different games. I was curious, is all. I opened the same closet. I thought it was the same one. You know those butterfly things that some people have on their walls? The hanging frames with all the dead butterflies inside them? This closet had dozens of those things, and each contained, instead of butterflies, dozens of human teeth. Was this where he keeps them? It was hundreds of teeth in total. I vomited in my mouth. Then I heard the toilet flush, so I closed that horrible closet, everything as I left it, and went back to sit at the chessboard. My friend came back into the room and said, Oh, I forgot to mention, a date's coming to pick me up tonight, so I'll need you to leave a little early. Oh, really? Nice. Alright, when? I was having trouble acting normal. He frowned. You know what? Now. Now is good. He walked me out. Bye, I said. See you next week. How many chapters? Yeah, bye, he said, almost uninterested. The door closed and I was outside in the dark. Alone. Does he know I saw it? What did I see? Who is he? God, I can't sleep. I looked for a girl missing in the woods. This case still haunts me. A girl went missing in the woods. Her name was Mary Silverton. She was 22 years old. We looked for months and only ever found one of her boots, with her left foot inside. I was part of the first search for her. Leading us was a senior park ranger, Nathan Crooks. Everyone said he was a great guy, and after I met him, I had to agree with them. It had been 2 months since her foot had been found. Even Mary's parents had lost any hope of finding her. I overheard the two discussing if there was anything left for them to keep searching for. The search had been called off early due to heavy rain, and Nathan asked if I wanted to come over for a drink. I said yes. We had gotten along well the past several months. When you spend hours researching the woods together every day, you find ways to make conversation. After 2 or 3 hours and several more drinks, he confided in me. He told me he had been at this park for 20 years and had never failed to find anyone. Alive, at that. He told me people went missing for a few days, maybe a week. Hikers that had taken the wrong trail or stayed out too late and lost the trail in the dark. They get home safe in the end, and he puts up a few more signs. He told me he felt like he was responsible for what happened to Mary. He had tears in his eyes. I comforted him. I told him that it wasn't his fault, that sometimes accidents happen and people go missing to never be seen again. He went silent. So did I. We sat and drank in silence for a while, and then he asked me a question. I can still hear it clearly now. He asked me if I really thought Mary would never be seen again. If I thought we wouldn't find her. I said yes. I wish I could be glad that I was wrong that night. 3 days later, Mary's parents called off the search. It had only been them, myself, and Nathan for several weeks, so I wasn't surprised. Then life went on. I never spoke to Nathan much after that. 14 years went by. One day at work, I got asked to do a welfare check on a 50-year-old Nathan Crooks. Nobody had seen him in town or heard from him in over a week. I drove over to a familiar one-story home and knocked on the door. No reply. I knocked again and called out. No reply again. I checked the handle to find the door unlocked. I knocked the last time and prayed for a reply. Once none came, I opened the door and stepped inside as the pit in the stomach grew. I saw Nathan laying face down on the kitchen floor. He was dead. Stroke. No foul play involved. Completely ordinary. The only thing odd was I heard a faint banging coming from upstairs. I looked while I waited for an ambulance to arrive, but I couldn't find the source of the noise. I never noticed the hatch to the attic. It was several weeks later that the body of Mary Silverton was found in the attic of Nathan Cook's home. She was now 36 years old. She had only been dead a few days. Starvation. Her mouth was gagged. She was missing her left foot. I found a box of classified files hidden inside an abandoned ranger station. I should not have read them. I have never posted anything like this before. I am not the kind of person who shares things on the internet, but I have been carrying something for almost 30 years and I cannot do it alone anymore. In 1996, I was working as a contractor in northern Arizona. Small jobs, repair work on buildings in places nobody else wanted to go. Cabins, fire lookouts, old ranger stations deep in the backcountry. The kind of work that paid just enough to keep you saying yes to the next one. In October of that year, I got a call from a park service office. They had a ranger station that needed structural repair. Roof damage from a winter storm years back. Water damage inside. Standard job, they said. 2 weeks, maybe 3. The station was about 40 miles from the nearest paved road. No power, no phone line. Just a dirt track through pine forest and canyon country that turned to mud if it rained. They told me the station had been abandoned since the late 70s. That was all they told me. I took the job because I needed the money. The building was worse than they described. Half the roof had caved in. The windows were boarded over from the outside. Inside, the walls were black with mold. Rat nests in the insulation. Water had been pouring through the ceiling for nearly 20 years. The place felt wrong from the moment I stepped inside. Not haunted, I do not believe in that. Just heavy, like the air had not moved in a very long time, like the building had been holding its breath. I set up a cot in the one room that still had a solid roof and I got to work. On the third day, I was pulling rotten shelving out of what used to be the station office. The shelves were built into the back wall, floor to ceiling, screwed in deep. When I pried them loose, I found a door behind them. Not a closet, a proper door, narrow, set into the wall like it was built with the station and then covered up later. The hinges were rusted shut. I had to use a crowbar. Behind the door was a small room, no bigger than a pantry, no windows, concrete walls, which was odd because the rest of the station was timber frame. Someone had built this room differently, on purpose. There was a metal desk pushed against the far wall, a chair with one broken leg, and on the floor, underneath the desk, a wooden box. The box was plain, no label, no lock, about the size of a filing drawer, maybe a little wider. The wood was dark with age but solid. It was heavy when I lifted it. I set it on the desk and opened it. Inside were dozens of file folders, some thick, some thin, some held together with rusted paper clips or rubber bands that crumbled when I touched them. The paper was yellowed but legible. Some of the files were typed on official Park Service letterheads. Others were handwritten on notebook paper. A few were just scraps, loose pages folded and tucked into the folders like someone had added them later. The oldest file I found was dated 1931. The newest was from 1982. Over 50 years of reports, all kept in the same box, all hidden in the same room, all passed down, I think, from one head ranger to the next, each one adding to the collection and none of them saying a word about it to anyone outside the station. And every single folder had the same stamp across the font, red ink, block letters. Do not file. I read maybe 5 or 6 that first night, sitting on the floor of that little room with a work lamp plugged into my generator, the wind pushing against the station walls outside. 5 or 6 was enough. They were incident reports, but not the kind that go into the system. These were the ones that got pulled out, the ones somebody decided should not exist. Disappearances, mostly hikers, campers, hunters, families, people who walked into the backcountry and did not come back, or who came back wrong. Miles from where they should have been, confused, injured, unable to explain what happened or where they had been, and the details kept repeating. Camps found intact, gear untouched, and the boots, always the boots, left behind in the tent or beside the bedroll, placed neatly, like the person had taken them off, set them down and walked into the dark barefoot, not once, not twice, across decades, across different parks. Different rangers writing the reports, years apart, none of them knowing the others had seen the same thing. But someone knew. Someone collected these files. Someone put them in this box and hid them behind a wall and stamped every one of them with the same words. Do not file. I sat there reading until my generator ran out of fuel, and when the light cut out, I sat in the dark for a long time. I loaded the box into my truck the next day. I told myself I would hand it over when I got back, report it, let somebody else deal with it. But something happened that last morning that I have never been able to explain. I woke up early, maybe 5:30. The light was just starting to come through the trees. I stepped outside to get some air before starting work, and I looked down at the ground in front of the station door. The dirt around the station was soft, loose. I had been tracking my own boot prints in and out for days. I knew what my prints looked like. These were not mine. They were bare feet. Bare footprints in the dirt. Starting about 10 feet from the front door, not coming toward the station, leading away, toward the tree line at the edge of the clearing. I followed them with my eyes. They crossed the clearing in a straight line and disappeared into the trees. There were no prints coming back. I was 40 miles from the nearest road. I had not seen another person in 4 days. I stood there for a long time, looking at those footprints, trying to think of an explanation. A camper passing through. Someone from a trail crew I did not know about. An animal print I was misreading in the early light. But they were not animal prints, and they were not my prints. And there was somebody else out there. I finished the job in 2 more days. I did not sleep well either night. And when I drove out, the box was in the back of my truck. I never handed it over. I never told anyone what I found. The box has been in my garage for almost 30 years, but I have been reading the files, all of them, and the patterns are worse than I thought. The same things keep happening. The same details show up in reports written decades apart by people who never met each other. The boots, the distances that do not make sense, the caves that nobody wants to talk about, and the people who try to report what they saw and would quietly move aside. People are still going missing, every year, the same way, in the same kinds of places, and nobody's connecting it because the people who did connect it had their reports stamped and buried. I do not know why I'm posting this here. Maybe because nobody in my real life would believe me. Maybe because I need someone to tell me I am not crazy. Maybe because I have been carrying this box for 30 years and it has gotten too heavy. If anyone has heard of anything like this, the boots pattern specifically, I need to know. I need to know if it is still happening. I have started recording myself reading through the files. If there's any interest, I will share them. I owe that much to the people in these folders. I survived a mimic. I am a 27-year-old male named Hunter, known for exploring a lot of places. Of course, if someone owns the property and is still alive, I always ask for permission before exploring. This story takes place in July 2022, shortly after I graduated from college in May. My friends and I, who often explore abandoned buildings together, decided to explore one last time before we all got jobs and became busy adults. My friends and I, who often explore abandoned buildings together, decided to explore one last time before we all got jobs and became busy adults. My friend, let's call her Mary, started searching online for abandoned buildings. Most places we found weren't in our state, Illinois at the time, but eventually, we found one near us. We had no exact address, just a picture taken by some passerby. It was located somewhere within the Chicago area, between Kankakee, the Chicago suburbs, and the city itself, probably in an open field near the road and the cornfields. We drove there and finally found the house, which was hard to spot since it was nighttime. We parked beside the house and gathered our ghost tracking supplies, which at that time were mostly handmade because we were broke, just out of college. We used old equipment from before college or crafted new tools the night before. We entered the house. The front door nearly came off its hinges. Given its age, the house was likely built in the 1950s or earlier. As we looked around, it seemed to have been owned by older people. There was a low-quality TV, 2 rocking chairs instead of a couch, some coats, and tiny jackets. While these clues didn't prove that older folks had lived there, they were our best guesses. Around 11 p.m., activity began to intensify. Our EMF reader started hitting high levels sometimes, reaching 3s or 4s. We tried to pinpoint the source, sensing a presence moving around us. Tyler, my friend, began researching how such spirits behave. The EMF fluctuated in 4 main areas: the kitchen, the stairs, the upstairs bedroom, and the living room, particularly on the left rocking chair. As the night went on, we saw a dark silhouette moving among those areas, disappearing whenever we shined our lights on it. To our amazement, the refrigerator started opening by itself. It seemed that the longer we stayed, the more active the spirit became, moving and performing strange actions. Tyler thought it might be a mimic, though I was too focused on watching the silhouette to be sure. Eventually, the silhouette stopped abruptly. From what we'd read online, once a mimic is observed for too long, it can realize it's being watched and may attempt to lure or toy with intruders. Although it can't kill, it might cause harm if provoked. The figure then moved erratically, no longer following its previous pattern, and eventually, we couldn't see it at all. We decided to split up, staying close. Mary went to the kitchen, I checked the hallway beneath the stairs, Tyler studied the living room, and Jerry, our third friend, took the upstairs. In the hallway under the stairs, I discovered a basement. After examining it, I descended the stairs, brought out my phone's flashlight, and saw several mannequins dressed in old women's clothes, outdated garments. Some mannequins stood on stands. One even had legs on a circular platform. There were also 2 china cabinets filled with souvenirs and other items. I noticed a slightly creepy unlocked safe with money inside, but I left it alone. It seemed better not to anger whatever spirit might be there. Soon, I started hearing voices, one like my mom's, and another like Mary calling me upstairs. I foolishly followed the sound. When I reached the top, Mary was still in the kitchen, but I heard her voice right next to me. I screamed, and it felt like footsteps were chasing me. I broke down the door and ran out, not knowing what might have been following me. Jerry tripped and hit his head on the porch, but he quickly got up and we all escaped. Outside, we caught our breath. We realized we'd left our ghost tools behind, but since we wouldn't be using them again, we decided to leave them. It wasn't worth risking our safety. Mary started the van, and we drove home through the night, stopping at a Circle K for gas and snacks, then heading back to Bloomington.